Christmas may have come and gone, but the giving season continues. Students have gathered downtown today to hand out food to those less fortunate. Good afternoon. It's all part of the 8th annual Downtown SAA Initiative, which was organized by the experienced Sikhi organization and Sikh student organizations across the GTA. CTV's Beth McDonnell has been speaking with those taking part. She joins us live now from Sankofa Square with more. Beth?
Pauline, youth from across the GTA are downtown today helping the homeless. The high school and university students walked through the core with care packages for people in need. They include warm clothing, toiletries, water, and chips. The annual event is inspired by SAA, the Sikh principle of selfless service, and the month of December holds a historical significance.
There was a couple of us high school students at the time sitting around and thinking, how can we bring the community together? How can we spread warmth when it's really cold out? And there was high school SSAs across the Peel region. And so we thought, hey, let's all go to downtown Toronto. We'll take a bunch of care packages. And at that first year, it wasn't that many, but it's grown to over 200 care packages, 200 bags of food, and 200 volunteers.
This is the 8th year youth have gathered for the initiative. They are now making their way to Nathan Phillips Square. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Pauline, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. And still to come on CTV News, Connecting Community. A local charity is bringing new meaning to playing in the sandbox. We'll have more on the power of programming just ahead. Police are searching for suspects after a woman was stabbed in Parkdale early this morning. Officers were called to the area of Queen and Sororan Avenue shortly before 4 a.m. A woman was taken to hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. So far, police have not offered any suspect descriptions. They're asking anyone with information to please come forward. And police are asking for the public's help in identifying a suspect who escaped police custody after an assault near Yonge and York Mills. The investigators have released these images of the suspect. They say the suspect and victim were involved in a dispute after exiting the subway station just before 6 p.m. on December 15th. It's alleged the suspect then assaulted the victim. Police attended the scene and arrested a suspect who was then able to escape police custody. The suspect was last seen wearing a black puffy jacket with white North Face logo on the right shoulder, a red hoodie, black and white checkered pajama pants, and white sneakers. Investigators are asking for anyone with information to come forward. Cleanup is underway following a house fire in North York. Crews were called to Isaac Devons Boulevard near Shepherd and Weston Road around 10:30 last night. When they arrived, there were heavy flames on the second and third floors of the home. All occupants were out of the house when emergency crews arrived. No injuries have been reported, and the cause of the fire is still under investigation. Next to an effort to connect the community, a registered charity downtown in the Beaches that is working to foster friendships and bring neighbors together in a hub where everyone is welcome. CTV's Natalie Johnson has more.
So we're going to be stirring.
The food for thought in this community kitchen.
We're cooking all delicious meals in here, so that I think this is the place to be.
Is that this is so much more than just a cooking class.
I came for community because I'm retired now, and this place is building community.
I didn't have any friends. I didn't have anything to do. And when I found Sandbox, oh my God, it changed my life.
The Beaches Sandbox, which brightens the streetscape of Queen East, began as the brainchild of Paulette O'Leary and her husband during the height of COVID-19 lockdowns.
The seniors have nowhere to go. The kids have nowhere to go. They're telling us to stay at home. So unnatural.
Determined to bring the community back together post-pandemic, the philanthropic vision was born.
What we do is combat social isolation and loneliness in the community, and we try to reach a bunch of different segments to really try to bring people together.
The building in the heart of the Beaches retrofitted to ensure easy access for visitors of all ages and abilities.
People can access all the floors, braille signage to make sure that everyone can find their way.
Everyone's included. Doesn't matter what nationality, what age, even like if they can't afford it. So just come. Just be here. It will grow. We'll figure that out.
Now 2 years after the registered charity opened its doors, the hub is a home for diverse programming, offering cultural content, supporting local artists, and bringing together even the newest of neighbors.
Sandbox is such a creative place to play. Different environments to entertain her and keep her busy is great, especially a place that's free to go to when you're on maternity leave.
It's a pretty special place. There's no one that walks into Beach's Sandbox that doesn't walk out with a smile.
There we go.
The goal is to fill programming gaps while having fun.
Learning from each other, we're able to accomplish great things with the Beaches Sandbox, and every day is a new day, and it warms our heart.
A place for neighbors to come together, connecting the community. Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
And we'll have more news in a moment, but first here's a live look at the city this afternoon. Lots of skaters there at Nathan Phillips Square. Let's take our first look at the forecast. Our satellite radar shows a lot of precipitation, but to the north of the province coming in, and around the Toronto, London, Windsor area, just a lot of cloud cover coming across the province. Right now, the temperatures are in the low single digits across most of the province. -7 out Ottawa way, that's probably the cold point, and then 7 degrees over in Windsor, that's the warm point. And if we're looking forward to our next screen here, we've got Toronto showing 2 degrees down at the Island Airport, 2 degrees at Pearson, 3 degrees this afternoon with a mix of sun and cloud and some winds, just 20 kilometers moving from the east. So we will have a better look at the forecast coming up in our main weather. It is set to be a dramatic start in 2025 in Canadian politics as the opposition eyes an opportunity to defeat the minority Liberal government. The Conservatives said today the Public Accounts Committee will be recalled after winter break to vote on a motion of non-confidence in the Liberal government. If the motion passes the committee, the Conservatives plan to refer it to the full House of Commons as early as January 30th. Several recent non-confidence motions have failed to garner a majority in the House of Commons, but now the NDP have indicated they would also support such a move after the fallout of Chrystia Freeland's resignation from cabinet. Provinces across the country are struggling with housing, but one builder in Quebec says he's found a way to build more units faster. CTV's Matt Grillo has more on the rise of modular housing.
Traditional home building can be a long process, sometimes taking years for a final product. At the Bonneville Homes factory in Belleuil, everything is timed out. The plant has 16 stations, 3 hours each.
This is our tag time. In 2 hours and 42 minutes, counting down, this is when the production line will advance. Every 3 hours, a module comes out of the factory. We wrap it, and then when we're ready to install the modules, we bring them close to the site, and then we install them.
Bonneville Homes is in the business of what it calls pre-engineered housing, often referred to as prefab or modular homes. Close to 75% of a home or an apartment building is constructed indoors, and that means the building isn't exposed to extreme weather.
We installed a multiplex in Belleuil about a year ago. The Monday morning, there was a foundation, and 4 days and a half after, there was a multiplex of 30 apartments. That's how fast it goes up.
Efficiency is the name of the game, and that's why this type of construction could make a major difference with the housing crisis.
We have industrialized the making of homes, the making of modules, just like the production line of cars.
And governments have taken notice. Earlier in 2024, Quebec put out a call to build 500 prefab units.
People are slowly turning around because the labor is very rare and we need so many apartments.
But for those who may have their doubts about modular homes, just ask civil engineer professor Adel Hanna. With his students, they are studying prefab foundations.
This is ready-made, just bring it to the site, connect it. You can have the foundation for a house in 2 days.
Cutting down on weeks of work and waiting around for concrete to properly solidify. Hannah says you can expect your prefab structure to last just as long as a traditional build, and adds this allows governments to quickly boost housing in targeted areas.
You can really expedite the constructions, economize on the construction, and solve the problem in a specific area where residential area is lacking.
The Bonneville plant, the demand for prefab multi-unit housing has exploded.
Right now, we're hiring about 8 to 10 people every week because we're increasing the production by 50% to start answering the demand on multiplexes.
Preparing for what could be the future of housing in Quebec. Matt Grillo, CTV News.
Indian officials say they are still waiting on a response from Canada's government over allegations of widespread trafficking of international students. The comments come after Indian officials stated they had uncovered evidence linking dozens of Canadian colleges to two entities in Mumbai accused of ferrying international students across the Canada-U.S. border. India began investigating after a family was found frozen to death near the U.S. border in Manitoba in 2022. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is continuing to push the idea that Canadians would be better off as Americans. His remarks have been met with criticism north of the border, including from those who say the Prime Minister is not doing enough to push back. CTV's Jeremy Sharon reports.
Two countries close in proximity and through political partnership. But President-elect Donald Trump has his sights set on Canada, and not only as the subject of tariff threats. In a Christmas Day post on his social media platform Truth Social, Trump makes reference to Governor Justin Trudeau of Canada, claiming that if we became the 51st state, taxes would be cut by 60%, businesses would double in size, and we'd be better military protected.
It's silly and disrespectful, and at some point, it's hard to ignore. At some point, it's hard to dismiss. He is the president-elect of the United States. He is threatening to impose severe tariffs on the country.
Trump's Christmas Day comments also included a post about encouraging Wayne Gretzky to run for Prime Minister, soon to be the Governor of Canada. These just the latest in a string of similar public comments made by the president-elect.
I really wish that the Prime Minister would politely but firmly say, we are not a set of used golf clubs. This isn't Kijiji. Canada is not for sale. Now let's get down to business.
The Prime Minister has yet to directly address the comments, but shared a link to this video on social media platform X.
In the long history of sovereign neighbors, there never has been a relationship as close, productive, and peaceful as the U.S. and Canada.
A short film by NBC, which aired prior to the opening ceremonies of the 2010 Vancouver Olympics, explains Canada to Americans and highlights the country's close ties. But the Prime Minister's post offers up little context and doesn't directly address Trump's comments, which have sparked others to speak out. Former Bank of Canada governor and current economic advisor to the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, says this is carrying the joke too far, time to call it out and stand up for Canada. While in a year-end interview with CTV's Your Morning last week, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre had this to say.
My message to incoming President Trump is that first and foremost, Canada will never be the 51st state.
Jeremy Sharon, CTV News, Ottawa.
And Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc and Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly are in Florida today. They're set to meet with officials from Donald Trump's incoming administration to discuss the risks of imposing new trade tariffs. This will be the first high-level meeting with members of Trump's incoming administration since Justin Trudeau visited Mar-a-Lago at the end of November. That visit was spurred by Trump's threat to impose a 25% tariff on Canadian goods. Alarming allegations are being made about the deadly crash of a passenger jet on Christmas Day. 38 people died when the jet, which was flying to Russia, went down in Kazakhstan. Now, Russia is being accused of downing the plane in potentially mistaking it for a Ukrainian drone. CTV's Kamil Karmali reports.
These are the final moments seen from inside the Azerbaijan Airlines aircraft before it crashed. The Christmas Day flight filled with passengers wearing oxygen masks, the video capturing damage to the plane's wing. Footage from the ground shows the aircraft falling and rising erratically before plummeting into a ball of fire in Kazakhstan. 38 people killed, 29 others injured. Now new allegations. Russian defense systems struck the plane. Parts of the aircraft seen dotted with holes, appearing to be some sort of shrapnel damage.
It does look consistent with a strike from a missile from the Panzer S, which is a Russian air defense system.
The aircraft was flying out of Azerbaijan's capital Baku to Grozny, Russia, but not far from its destination, the plane instead started flying in the opposite direction, diverting away from an area where Russia has frequently used its air defense systems against Ukrainian drones. The aircraft crossing the Caspian Sea and eventually crashing on Kazakh soil.
I think there's a high probability that what the government of Azerbaijan has concluded is what happened, that being that a Russian air defense system misidentified the plane.
But Russia and Kazakhstan have been quick to downplay the speculation, the Kremlin saying it won't comment until the investigation is complete. Kamal Karamali, CTV News, Toronto.
As the search for answers continues, Russia's aviation chief said today that a Ukrainian drone attack was underway in Chechnya before the crashed plane diverted and came to the ground. Azerbaijan Airlines on Friday blamed the crash on unspecified physical and technical interference and announced the suspension of flights to several Russian airports. It did not say where the interference came from or provide any further details. Officials in Gaza say at least 15 people are dead after Israel's military destroyed a home sheltering displaced people in the territory's north. A spokesperson for Gaza's civil defense says the house was destroyed in an area north of Gaza City where 40 members of 2 displaced families had been sheltering. He didn't specify how the property was destroyed, and Israel's military has not commented. Meanwhile, the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says Israeli forces had raided the Kamal Adwan hospital, forcing patients and others to flee. Israel's military said it was acting in response to Hamas fighters who it accuses of using the hospital as a stronghold. Meanwhile, Houthi rebels in Yemen say they fired a missile at Israel's main airport overnight outside Tel Aviv. The Iran-linked group claimed the projectile hit its target, but Israeli media say it was successfully brought down by air defenses. Flight arrivals were reportedly halted for about half an hour. The Houthis say they were acting in response to Israeli strikes on targets, including the airport in Yemen's capital. Germany will be holding a national election 7 months ahead of schedule.
Heute entschieden, den 20. Deutschen Bundestag aufzulösen.
Today, Germany's president dissolved the country's parliament, paving the way for snap elections on February 23rd. The move follows the defeat of Chancellor Olaf Scholz's coalition in a non-confidence vote earlier this month. Polls suggest the conservative opposition Union Party is poised to replace Scholz's Social Democrats. And there was fury from government MPs in South Korea today as the opposition-controlled parliament impeached the country's acting president. The prime minister had been given the role temporarily after Yoon Suk-yeol was impeached for briefly declaring martial law earlier this month. But the opposition said the PM was blocking judicial appointments to the court that will decide if Yoon's removal is final. South Korea's finance minister is now the acting president. NASA has confirmed its Parker solar probe survived the closest ever encounter with the sun. The probe flew within 6 million kilometers of the sun, skimming its outer atmosphere or corona. Today, scientists received a signal from the probe indicating that it is safe and operating normally. The mission is aimed at learning why the corona is hotter than the sun's surface and gathering more data about solar wind. And we will have more news in just a couple moments. Stay with us. This is CTV News at noon. Toronto's Global Medic has been assisting with disaster relief around the world throughout 2024. CTV's Mike Walker has been speaking with the group's executive director and joins us live now with more. Mike?
Well, Pauline, the need around the world and here at home continues to increase year over year. This room we're standing in this warehouse, is where a small army of volunteers have been preparing food, including lentils and beans that will be distributed to food banks across the country and around the world. Now, Global Medic also has a vertical farming program which produces microgreens that is distributed to food banks across the country. And since launching this program in 2022, it has distributed more than 2,700 pounds of food. Now, as you mentioned, there are several disasters and conflicts that they have been providing humanitarian aid to around the world, including in the Amazon, to help firefighters there combat and put out massive wildfires that are spreading across the Amazon through several countries. And part of that includes specialized technologies, specialized fire skids that they have built that can be attached onto fire trucks that are then can go into remote areas to put out these forest fires. And this year they have so far distributed 20 of those fire trucks. As mentioned, the need globally continues to rise. Here's more from the executive director.
The problem is a lot more people that are in need. There's a lot more people in harm's way from things like storms. So you think about it, more people are on the move, right? There's more people displaced by angry young men with guns today than at any point in our history. Then you got economic migrants and you got people that are just moving for like a better life. Well, where do they end up, right? They migrate, they end up on cities on the coast. Those cities are in harm's way of storms. They're not ready for them infrastructure-wise. So you have more storms, higher impact, more events, higher impact, more people in the way. Of course, you're going to get more needs. And then you add to that the people affected by war. It's just an ugly conundrum of events.
And efforts like this one you see here are going to continue to ramp up in the new year. And given the social economic challenges here at home and across the world, as well as those ongoing conflicts, the executive director anticipates that this need will only continue to grow. Reporting live with Mike Walker. Pauline, back to you.
Thanks very much, Mike.
Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers. You don't pay unless they win.
Well, here's another live look at the city this afternoon. It's looking kind of gray, a little bit moist and misty out there, but really our temperatures are just fantastic for late November. Let's take a look at our full forecast, and we'll start with a look across the province. You can see low single digits across Ontario with a cold spot out in Ottawa Way with -6. Windsor remains our warm spot with 7 degrees down there. We've got single digits across the north mid part of the province as well. Today's highs, we've got 4 degrees for Toronto, 0 out in Peterborough, 5 Niagara Falls Way, 5 in London, which is, as you can see, is well above the normal highs. Tonight's lows, we've got 3 degrees in Toronto, so snows will be melting, and it's much higher than the normal low of -8. -4 in Kingston, 2 degrees in Goderich tonight, 4 degrees in London. And if we look ahead, our forecast radar shows a lot of cloud cover coming over Toronto Way, Peterborough Way. We've got some precipitation tomorrow late in the day going across Toronto. And then if you look ahead to Sunday, a lot of precipitation coming in for Sunday. See that big patch pretty much the whole day Sunday, and then tapering off through Monday. And as we look forward, we've got some nice temperatures this afternoon in the Toronto area. If you want to take some time, go outdoors with your family, do a little skating or walking around. 3 degrees pretty much through the day. And we will have, as you see, a lot of precipitation over the weekend. Through the beginning of next week, we'll have warm temperatures still, much higher than seasonal. Monday and Tuesday, the rains will be tapering off. And look at that. Thursday, it looks like we might have more sunshine coming in, and the high would be 0, which is sort of the coolest point for our 7-day look. And we will have a final look at the forecast a little later in our newscast. But for now, it's going to be a pretty nice weekend ahead. Some rain, but can't complain with those warm temperatures. Well, the winter season is generally not conducive to eating outdoors, but the Deer Creek Golf Club in Ajax is looking to change that. As CTV's Carol Charles tells us, customers have been trading in their clubs for a cozy evening outside.
Imagine enjoying a meal outdoors under the stars.
This is such a fun thing to do.
Isn't it?
The 6 garden domes are a new addition to the Deer Creek property.
It's amazing. Love it. First time, recommend it for anybody who's in the Durham region and looking for a fun experience, especially with friends.
They offer a cozy, intimate setting for families, couples, and friends. Each of the domes is named after a course at Deer Creek. The Lilly family are first-time guests.
It's cool. You get couches and warm blankets and stuff. Yeah, there's a few games inside the building, and they don't really take long to serve the food. And there's lots of lights, so it's nice when it's dark.
All domes come equipped with a heater and heated blankets for those chilly nights.
They are good and perfect for snuggling under.
Have some cilantro going, and you have...
An evening out wouldn't be complete without a meal. The $50 experience gets you an alcoholic drink option, as well as a main course. There's an alternate menu if the experience menu doesn't have what you want.
There's a DIY guacamole, there's antipasto, there's a mezza platter, and there's a lot of unique things, but also some classics like chicken wings and chicken fingers. We need a little bit of a diverse menu.
So yummy, thank you.
The only thing needed to cap off the evening...
The only thing I will say it is missing is snow. It just would look gorgeous with some snow.
But there is plenty of holiday spirit to warm the heart. The concept was a popular one during the pandemic, and staff feel it's a great way to invite families out for an enjoyable evening during the winter season. The dining domes will be open until mid-March of next year. If you want to make a reservation, you can log on to mydeercreek.com. Carol Charles, CTV News.
The Maple Leafs have returned from their holiday break and will face off with the Detroit Red Wings tonight.
Nylander, Mitch Marner directed it through, and they score. And it's Tavares again against the Jets, and it's 2-1.
The Leafs are coming off a 5-2 loss to Winnipeg on Monday, marking their second straight loss. Puck drop for tonight's game in Detroit is set for just after 7 p.m.
Stacey, she's going to put on the speed on a breakaway. Laura Stacey, she scores!
Meanwhile, the Toronto Scepters will be looking to snap a 4-game losing streak this evening. The team is coming off an overtime loss to Montreal on December 21st. They're set to take on the Boston Fleet at Coliseum this evening. Puck drop just after 7 p.m. Team Canada will be looking for a second straight win at the World Juniors when they take on Latvia this evening.
Bonk back with it. Tired Finns on the ice. Here's McKenna. Loose in front. Good stop. Rebound score!
17-year-old Gavin McKenna scored Canada's first goal of the tournament in their opening game against Finland. The team added 3 more goals on their way to a 4-0 win. Puck drop for Canada's game tonight against Latvia is set for just after 7:30 p.m. And still to come, the health benefits of gaming. We'll have more on video games being used to assist with physical and mental recovery efforts when we come back. Well, Canada's Coding for Veterans is taking part in the annual Rose Parade in Pasadena, California on New Year's Day. The event is part of how the organization is marking its 5th anniversary. And for more, we're joined live with Coding for Veterans Executive Director Jeff Musson. Hi, Jeff. Welcome to our newscast.
Yeah, great to be here.
Now, Jeff, can you start out by explaining to us what Coding for Veterans does? Who does it help? How does it all work?
Yeah, so Coding for Veterans is a program that retrains military veterans in software development and cybersecurity. The program is delivered 100% online in Canada through the University of Ottawa and in the U.S. through the University of Southern California. The program, military veterans can take it full-time or part-time, and there's over an 85% placement rate of graduates coming out of our program.
And how many people have you been helping so far?
Yeah, so we started off with 5 people back in the fall of 2019, and we've now had over 800 military veterans enroll in our program.
And tell us a little bit more about the people who come to you. You know, what What backgrounds do they come from, and what are they looking for?
Yeah, so really, we like to say our organization helps military veterans go from deployment to employment. And so individuals, when they leave the military, they're looking to retrain in an area of, expertise that they've had. And so with us, we really assume people have minimal technical knowledge, but they have a great aptitude, in terms of their soft skills, things like attention to detail, leadership, things like that. And then our program lasts 12 months. And, in Canada, there's over 150,000 IT jobs projected to go unfilled the next 12 to 18 months.
That's terrific. And now I know you are there in Pasadena. You have that float in behind you, which I know people are still working on. Please tell us what's going on there and tell us about the float itself.
Yeah, so, we last year were in the Rose Bowl parade, and we took home one of the top awards, and we were invited back this year. And so the float behind us really signifies, military and as well as technology. So the float is 55 feet long. There will be over 33,000 roses that will be put on this float. And we really made it interactive, where we have QR codes on the side of this float. So as it's going down Colorado Boulevard in Pasadena, people can pull out their phones in which to scan the QR code to find out about our program.
What a great idea. And tell me, just finally before we leave you, what kind of emotions are you feeling right now? It's been 5 years. This organization has grown. You've got this terrific float. What's going through your heart right now?
You know what? A tremendous sense of pride. We're the only Canadian float in this parade, and we were the only one last year. And so really to, bring together that sense of pride, being a Canadian, but at the same time, what better way to honor the service and sacrifice of men and women in our military than providing them good, stable careers after they've left the military?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jeff Musson from Coding for Veterans. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful new year.
Same to you, Pauline.
Now, most people think of video games as a fun escape, but they are also being used in therapy. The technology is assisting people both physically and mentally in their recoveries. CTV's Kathy Lee has the details.
I can do it. Karl Sawatsky is leveling up his gaming skills. But he's also doing something else more important.
Like the hand-eye coordination, I think it's helping kind of rebuild those connections to the brain.
Rehabilitation through gaming, a program Sawatsky never thought he needed until a rare diagnosis in January where his body's immune system attacked his nervous system.
I was like full quadriplegic for a while there in the ICU. Had to have the breathing tube and everything.
For patients like Sawatsky, adaptive gaming therapy has been a game changer, helping patients gain and regain cognitive and physical skills.
The Foothills Medical Center has offered video games in its rehab therapy program before, but what is new is the availability of this equipment that now makes video gaming more accessible to patients.
If a patient has hemiparesis of one side, we can adapt a regular controller so that it's just one-handed. We can change the color settings if they're having cognitive impairments.
The adaptive gaming system is expensive. That's where Makers Making Change comes in.
We'll work with the center to either get them a grant to purchase all this gaming gear, or if we have grant funding at the time, we'll give it to them. And then I do all of the training.
This is awesome.
2 months into the program, Sawatsky is seeing results.
A lot of function has been coming back in my hands. I've gone from being able to barely sit on my own to now we're starting to actually walk using a walker.
And it's helped him not just physically, but gaming is an escape.
It's just nice to have something a little more, kind of more normal in a way.
Sawatsky will be discharged next month, but his game plan for recovery continues well beyond that. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
As health officials try to stop the spread of bird flu south of the border, they're sharing a potentially concerning new find. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention analyzed genetic samples from a patient in Louisiana. They're considered the first severe human case of bird flu in the U.S. The samples showed the virus likely mutated in the patient to become potentially more transmissible to humans. The CDC says the patient was infected by sick and dead birds, but the mutation was not present in those animals and apparently has not spread to anyone else. Similar mutations were found in a BC teen with bird flu. And still ahead, affordability issues are still top of mind for many Canadians, with the cost of groceries and other necessities continuing to soar. We'll take a look at how those trends are expected to develop in 2025 after the break. As of today, TTC riders are no longer able to access free Wi-Fi on subway platforms. The T-Connect service has been operating since 2013, but a few months ago, the TTC said it would wind down the network, citing declining usage, cybersecurity concerns, and increasing costs. The transit agency says it's still working with Rogers on the continued build-out of the 5G cellular service on the subway, including tunnels. A pilot project offering Wi-Fi at bus bays and platforms is also being considered. Many Canadians head down to Florida to escape the winter chill, but those who own condos there will soon be paying more in monthly fees. The higher costs are a consequence of a new law passed in the aftermath of the collapse of a condominium building that killed 98 people in June of 2021. The new regulations require condo associations to have enough money in reserve to cover major repairs and to conduct a survey of their reserves every 10 years. For many Canadians, 2024 was another year of scrimping and saving. Inflation has been coming down along with interest rates, but many people are still feeling the squeeze on the wallet. CTV's Adrian Gabriel reports.
A year of economic uncertainty brought a cost of living crisis to the forefront for many Canadians.
Being a single senior now, I'm finding it harder. Everything is going up.
Top of mind for consumers, the daily cost of groceries, devouring some household budgets.
I can't buy certain fruits, certain vegetables because it is not in my budget.
Leading to protests last winter at grocery stores across the country. Overall, grocery store purchases cost an average of 2.7% more in October of 2024 compared with 2023, with staples like onions, fruit juices, and peppers taking the largest price jumps. With a weakening Canadian dollar over the last 12 months, the cost Canadians are forking over for fruits and vegetables shipped into Canada from south of the border is pushing grocery bills even higher, according to finance experts.
Now we're paying $1.41 to buy $1 American, and that's significantly more than we were paying this time last year.
The year that was also began with soaring interest rates and difficult decisions for thousands like the Coopers in Dorchester, Ontario, who were facing a mortgage renewal in the spring.
We did get a rate at 1.7% at this house during the pandemic, at the end of 2020. Yeah. And now we know that rates are looking in the 5-ish range.
And it's a luck of the lottery, really, where in that 5-year period they've had to renew their mortgage.
The Bank of Canada did reach its inflation target of 2%. Those who renewed their mortgage later in the year or those with a variable rate did receive some reprieve, with interest rates dropping from 5 to 3.25%. Consumer spending also showed signs of growth as the year progressed, with the federal government attempting to add a sweetener in the form of a temporary holiday tax break. Though as the year comes to a close, there are signs that the country may already be in a recession. Some believe that the number of immigrants Canada has welcomed has kept GDP growth afloat, but that could be coming to an end.
It does tilt towards a softer economic outlook, a softer outlook for GDP growth than we published in October. The government has lowered their immigration targets for next year. That's likely to pull GDP growth down next year.
With the calendar set to turn on another fiscal year, some Canadians are keeping the challenges of 2024 in perspective.
Our parents went through a depression, and they survived, and they're stronger for it.
We can get through this.
Yeah, we can get through this.
That sense of optimism may be tested as we look ahead, with the annual price of groceries expected to cost the average family an additional $800 in 2025, and with a looming tariff threat by the Trump administration that could send Canada's economy into a full-blown tailspin. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Toronto.
And coming up, a teenager in Quebec living with a rare form of cancer is using his Make-A-Wish dream to support his community. We'll have his story when we come back. A Quebec teenager with a rare form of cancer is using his Make-A-Wish dream to pay it forward to a community he loves. Instead of asking for himself, he's hoping to see a much-needed training center built for local volunteer firefighters. CTV's Kelly Gregg has his story.
Jerry McAdam is a self-described man of few words.
This is the couplings that hatch on to hydrants and stuff.
But he opens up when he talks about firefighting.
Spare nozzles.
He's not an official part of the crew yet. After all, he's just 16 years old. But he's been going on calls with his dad since he was little.
I found it pretty fun and I liked helping people, so I was like, I'll stick around.
It seems Jerry has always had a passion for firefighting. This is him at 4 years old. In a Halloween costume his parents said he refused to take off.
I'm in the middle of fighting a fire right now.
Here he is putting out a pretend fire in his treehouse. And at 9 years old, learning how to break a window, standard training for car crash responses. But 3 years ago, he got news he never expected. Jerry was diagnosed with sarcoma, a rare form of tissue cancer. His parents by his side as he's had round after round of chemo.
Challenging. It's hard to see him go through it and have to struggle.
The Make-A-Wish Foundation offered to give him anything he wanted.
I didn't really know what to use it for, so I was like, I'll just sit this aside for now.
But instead of choosing something for himself, he's decided to pay it forward.
This isn't, a normal wish. This is so special.
They said out of 100 and some kids that she's dealt with, she's never had any of them give a wish away.
This is the future site of a firefighter's training facility, so volunteers in Hemmingford don't have to spend more than an hour to get to the nearest one.
It would give us a lot more access to training, quicker times, easier.
For his father, it was a proud moment, but one that was tinged by concern.
Felt, in a way, I felt guilty because I had talked about it in that. I felt like he was giving his wish away because of something I had said.
Jerry's passion for firefighting, born out of the same desire to help others.
Could have done other stuff for himself, and to turn it over to help us, the fire service and the communities around. It's amazing.
The expected cost to build the center is $80,000. The Make-A-Wish Foundation is kicking in $8 and helping Jerry fundraise.
This is my locker.
His dream of becoming a firefighter is at odds with the battle he's currently facing.
The strength that he's showing and to take and keep going and keep trying to still improve everything around him.
The young man who doesn't say much, letting his actions speak louder than words ever could. Kelly Gregg, CTV News, Hemmingford.
And here's another live look at the city this afternoon. Before we go, let's take a final look at the forecast. Satellite radar shows that cloud cover coming across the province with some precipitation further north of us. Currently, we've got temperatures in the low single digits across Ontario. We've got a warm point down in Windsor, lovely 7 degrees, but really all of us are well above seasonal for this time of year, late December.